AMC is making you pay for better seats, and Netflix is making you pay to share your password. Welcome back, everybody, to the Pop Cult Cast, where we're talking about some drama between AMC and Netflix going completely nuts on how they're servicing, well, their services. Today, of course, I got my awesome co-host, Caleb. How you doing, man?
I'm doing phenomenal, Jordan. What about you?
I'm doing not so fantastic about this news. This news has me a little jaded. But I want you to tell me a little bit more about it, because I feel like I'm probably missing some stuff.
So the first thing we're going to talk about AMC, right? All right. So AMC Theaters wants to charge a premium for seats. So they want to do it similar to sporting events. So if you were to go see an NFL game, sitting on the 50-yard line or closer to the players, you'll always pay a premium price. Like those tickets can range anywhere from like $1,000 to like $15,000 at those sporting events. While the nosebleeds, you pay like $50. They want to do something similar at AMC Theaters where, those seats in the middle. Hang on, big girl. Sorry, my dog's whining at me. She wants to come over here and play. The seats in the middle, the best seats in the house, premium prices. And before I ask you how you feel about it, I just want to let you know I think this is stupid. I think this sucks. So right now we have, like, I'm sure you understand this, like movie theater chains are struggling after the pandemic. They had to shut down business. People were watching their movies at home, paying $20 to stream a film that was in theaters. And people just weren't going to get the popcorn and the drink and sit down and catch a flick. And, these chains have struggled. So it seems like this is a move to kind of increase those profit margins. Mm. And ultimately, I do support the cinema. I do want movie theaters to exist as long as possible. I think it's a mainstay of culture. I do think it's an amazing thing for young people, to go out and, congregate with their friends and have an enjoyable experience at an affordable price or a moderately affordable price. And this premium seating thing is stupid because how often do you go to the theater and you are like one of three people there? Mm-hmm. So you're going to tell me I'm going to pay, like, instead of $10 for a seat, I'm going to pay like $15, $20 mm-hmm. to sit in the middle where I would ultimately want to sit if I have my choice, pay, double the price. And there's no real improvement to the experience. It's not like AMC's like, hey, we're increasing prices and, we're doing double features now. Or we're increasing prices and, the seats literally can heat or cool you. Mm-hmm. The screen, we're projecting in 8K, Vice 4K, or we've upgraded our sound system. There's no upgrade to this experience. It's just merely you will pay more. And I think a lot of us in the world that are dealing with inflation are increasingly frustrated with the notion that we're paying more and more of our paychecks with no real wage increases to these corporations for them to improve nothing. Mm-hmm. Like, this service does not improve. And I think for me, that's the bottom line. Like, why do I pay more for a service that's not improving?
Right.
How do you feel about it?
Before I get into how I feel, I did want to get a little bit more clarification. So from what I've seen is that there's 3 tiers of premiumness. Like the very front seats are like what's called like, I believe they call it like standard seating. And then there's like everything else. Like there's like a picture of it that's hilarious. There's like the sides and like some of the back. Those are like there's the ways that they called it. And then like there's a big box in the middle where it's called premium seating, baby. Where you got to sit there and that's your big bucks. And I'm just very curious on how much they're gonna price it. But like going back to how I feel, it's like, I'm sorry, but I think so. Where you're Batman for the situation, you're the protector of Gotham. You're the Dark Knight. I'm the Joker. I am fully down for the death of cinema. I do not, at this point in my life, I just don't care about going to this whole experience. Like during COVID, I was in my peak form. Like I was watching these new movies coming on HBO Max, and I was so excited for a day and date watching not day and date because it wasn't in theaters. But for it to drop on my screen, I can watch it just in my own freedom and my peace, and just watch it and just be hyped by myself. Like that was so peak to me. So to come back from the COVID experience into now, where like that's completely gone. I do have to come to theaters. Man, like that sucks for me. But I can also say, and like as me already being someone that's such an advocate for streaming movies, I can say that this decision is so destructive for their company, and I'm sure they're gonna walk it back at some point. But it's like one thing I did want to say too is that while I am not advocate for movie theaters, we're not. I wonder if I should say this for AMC when we talk about AMC too. But the only thing you're doing at AMC is that you're driving people away from the movie theater. And what does that do? Like with movies, like people are going to pirate this. Like that's ultimately leading to your industry even failing more. And it's like I totally 100% understand that you need to tighten that belt on finances and figure out a way how you can make more money out of this. But this is just the wrong way to do it. Because like when you brought up like heated seats and all this and everything and like 8K video or whatever, all I can see is like them taking away certain of those features from each seat. Like say like, okay, so now these seats don't have cooling. You can't recline this seat, but the middle seats do. And like some of the side seats do. And it's like a very just weird way to like just cheapen your experience of the movie theater than it has like right now. And you also brought up a good point of what if you're the only person in that theater? First of all, who's gonna check on if I'm actually gonna sit in my seat? If I'm the only person in the theater, I pay for these cheap seats. I'm gonna sit in the middle because there's no one here. Like, why can't we do that, AMC? And it's like, I think just from a PR perspective, like, it's like just how stupid do you have to be to make this like if it, like I said, like even though I'm the joke in this situation, it really pisses me off because like you're taking your customers almost for not even for granted, but just like you're treating them like complete, just like gutter trash. Like what's going on, AMC? I'm very curious. Like how you made the decision and decided to go through with it in like good conscience.
I feel like one of the things that makes this kind of stupid is this pushes the casual film goers, which are the audience that they are afraid of losing, away. Because if you're that, casual film goer and you're forced to be in like crappier seating sections, anytime you go to a theater, you just be like, you know what, my couch is pretty comfortable at home, so why would I, watch it at a weird angle?
Right.
Because, some people paid like a premium price to sit in the better seats. Like it's like they almost envision a film theater like it's an airline. Like you're going to have the first class customers and then everybody else in coach. Why would people go to the go to the cinema to sit in coach? I don't see that being a draw. I do gotta say though, your Joker stance on the cinema. Why? I mean, there's so many great things about it that make it really worth it.
Because here's the thing, like, so there's two experiences where I'm like, okay, this was now about like there's maybe like more like 4 or 5, but like where basically all revolves around Marvel movies, but like. Where it's an event movie, dude, movie theaters are awesome. Like seeing No Way Home. Wait, Far From Home? Yeah, was it No Way Home or Far From Home? I'm getting them mixed up now for some reason.
No Way Home.
No Way Home.
Yeah, No Way Home.
Seeing that movie in theaters was probably the most awesome moment, like awesome theatrical moments I ever had. Just being in a theater full of Spider-Man fans, like getting lit, that was awesome. But seeing some like random movie, like just going to have to go out 30 minutes, then going back 30 minutes, and then like just doing that whole process, like I really just don't like it. Especially when it's not even a social experience for me. When I can just be like at home and like making my own commentary, because like of course like the golden rule, just don't talk in the movie theater, don't be on your phone. I can be on my phone and talk to whoever's around and like really make my space my own experience. And like at the end of the day, I value that just a little bit more when it's because like let's be honest, like those big event movies aren't all the time. Like probably, and like I'm thinking of like huge releases coming up, like maybe like Oppenheimer, Nolan's next film, and it's like that's gonna be huge. Like I really want to see that, but that's not an event movie. I don't think people are gonna be up in the theater like lit.
What? Okay. It may not be an event, but it's about the experience though. Like think about what Christopher Nolan does with his films. He shoots his films in like IMAX quality, like with the IMAX camera, so it is the highest resolution you can see a film. The audio usually is out of this world, mind-boggling, especially when they combine with like Dolby Atmos or something like that in the cinema. And I feel like you bring up seeing Spider-Man No Way Home as an amazing experience, why would you want to lose that potential by the cinema dying? Like some of my favorite like memories watching any film, like Star Wars, whatever the fifth one or not fifth one, the seventh one, The Force Awakens. I saw that in theater opening night on base when I was stationed in Camp Kensor when I was in the Marines, and people got crazy for it. Like opening credits scrolled, and like the atmosphere was crazy. When Han Solo died, like somebody actually yelled out, "What the F?" Like really loud, like they're about to cry because Han Solo, in a way, and it made for an amazing experience. Another film, Jurassic World, movie. Let's be honest, like it's story wise, but to see it in the theater, it was a spectacle with the hype people had going for it. I'm not a fan of Fast and the Furious films, but I could imagine that's something that you would want to like sit in and lock and load for the theater because the sounds and what you're seeing are crazy. And you mentioned you don't want to go all the time. And maybe you can endorse like my belief about like when I decide to go to the theater or not. There's some things that are just worth seeing to me in that higher quality and potentially in that environment if it has it. Yeah. Like, the new Scream film is coming out, and I love those films. That's something I truthfully could just watch at home for the first time and not go to the cinema. Of course, I'm going to go because I want to show like the people making those movies, please make more Scream films. But I could pass on it. The new Avatar, though, like there's no way you would have said, hey, wait to watch it at home versus in the cinema. Like It's a beautiful looking film. That film that came out like 10 years ago, Gravity, with Sandra Bullock, looked amazing in the theater. Interstellar, perfect for a theater setting because they're just like magical and beautiful. The Lord of the Rings films, all 6 of them in the theater. Like imagine just how breathtaking they would be on like that huge screen.
Yeah.
And I don't think that needs to be lost because we don't want to see like the Banshees of Inisherin in the theater. Right. Like I'm sure you heard of that movie, won the Golden Globe. Like good story, but I'm sorry, that is not worth going to the movie theater for. Whatever I can rent it, or do whatever at home. Like there's some films that you just don't need to see in the theater.
Right.
But that choice, you want to burn that choice down, like you don't want that option no more.
Let me correct myself. I'll be a little extreme. I'll take that back. What I really meant, I was like really in my villain arc right there. I really was going in, but like, what I really mean is like I think the decision should be there because like the big thing that's just not seeming to be happening anytime soon is that we are going to be releasing these movies day and date with streaming and in theaters. That's the ultimate goal I want because I truly do, like you perfectly said, I really do want those event movies to be with a group of people, right? Like I said, like that film experience of No Way Home is literally just gonna be etched in my mind forever. Like it was so great. But yeah, like definitely what I mean is the choice. But I think we have a debate going up that we can probably get into forever. Tell us if you guys want a sort of like streaming versus like in theater experience debate. We can definitely do something like that. But before we get too off topic with this, I just want to say too is like movies already cost a pretty chunk of change. Like AMC, like I really hope you guys do reconsider this change or reconsider at least some aspects of this movie theater experience and really make it worth the theater go experience. And I do wonder. I know the AMC provides what's it called, like the pass or something, and it's like I wonder how that's going to affect seating. If do you know how the AMC Stubbs Pass works?
No, but I can imagine like you would still have to pay some money for the premium seats. Like you would just get a seat for free, but I would imagine they would still have you pay like the add-on for the premium seating if you use the pass. It's like there's no way they're not squeezing the money out of you. Like that's ultimately what this is about. To get every dollar out of your pocket that they can possibly, get you to justify. So I'm sure they'll do that. And
like going back to your other like potential wants out of like making this theater going experience better, you mentioned picture quality. Like I'm not a huge person on knowing how they can implement that. Like I don't even know like the whole experience of an IMAX. I've never been to an IMAX movie, but like, could you? I'm blowing Caleb's mind today. So it's like, how feasible or like can they fit an IMAX sort of thing inside of like that theater? Like I'm not sure how that even works. Like I guess going further into like what you want from this, like if if they're going to increase prices, what do you want as a movie theater goer to like them to implement to make that price worth it?
I don't feel like there's much that needs to change at this point in time that can realistically improve the experience. I think it's just, perpetually improving the quality. But, I'm going to give some credibility to your Joker side. Like, I do think, like, the death of the cinema is an inevitability in some sense. Because we increasingly so have affordable home theaters.
Right.
Like, I have a 4K QLED TV. Like, my setup is bomb. I love watching films at home because I can, pop in a 4K Blu-ray and just blow everybody's minds. But for me to have that, it only cost me like 2 G's. So
Literally.
That's like, 200 movies that I could have skipped out on paying to go to the theater to get this TV. Or is that that's proper math. Like 200 movies right there. Got me this TV and allows me to enjoy these films just as good at home. And, like, that's a competition in the movie theater. Because back in the day, like, you had the VHSs. The quality of a VHS sucked really bad.
Right.
And, people were going to the theater to see, like, Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump, and they would see an amazing, like, film quality, and then go home and all they would have is their little tube-box TV. Like, of course, the theater was more justified then because it was the only way to actually see the film, like, almost properly. That's not the case anymore. Like, me and my wife the other day were looking at really nice surround sound Dolby Atmos systems to, like, improve our home theater experience. And the more we add on, because it is affordable, like, we're not rich by any stretch of the imagination for an American household, like, not at all. But it's increasingly affordable to us because there's more available technology. That's a threat because she may say, why are we going to, go pay $40 for you and me and to take my 2 brothers to this film and, also pay for gas and then, another 30 in food, beverages and stuff while you're there. So like $70 to $100 when we can just sit at home and pay $20 to like Disney Plus and boom, stream Mulan. Like that's what they did. They had, the streaming because it was COVID whenever that film came out. But like, that's the choice like you could potentially have and it would make more sense. People would opt in that way.
Yeah.
I just don't want to let it go. Like it's such an amazing experience socially for me to hear people's reactions live and to, see people appreciate something as much as you do. Like the first time I ever saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, I'm sitting next to this big brolic guy, like just humongous, like gym goer. And this dude's by himself. And when the emotional scenes hit, this dude's breaking down and bawling, like crying his eyes out. And you know what? I'm crying too. The whole row of people are just in their emotions at this point in time, like a shared experience. Like I do not want to see that go away. So I kind of wonder with the increasing quality of home entertainment, am I really paying to see the film or am I paying to see it with other people?
That's a good point. Yeah, it's like you said, like recently I just bought, like during the summer, I bought a whole like surround sound system for living room. And it's like, dude, that rocks. Like we have like recliner seats. Like, dude, it's so sick. Like we watched like the whole entirety of Game of Thrones over the holiday. And it's like, dude, like that experience was so sick because we have like this nice little theater experience at home. And it's like nowadays I consistently see myself skipping out on movies and it just kind of escapes my mind. And a few months later it's like on streaming service, like, oh wow, like, oh let's watch this now. It's like it's getting to a point where things need to change. But what's also changing, guys, is that Netflix is making it very hard, or at least they're changing how password sharing works for all the people on your account. Do you have any more details on how Netflix is doing that, Caleb?
So about a week ago, Netflix released to some extent a plan to crack down on password sharing. I'll see you later, baby. I love you. Sorry, I gotta say bye to my wife, guys.
Caleb. Oh,
so Netflix is cracking down on password sharing because everybody that has a Netflix account knows you share that thing with your mom, your dad, your brother, sister, your good friend. Like everybody gets a little bit of that action just because they charge you like I think $19, $20 a month now for. Bucks? if you want 4K enabled in
Sheesh.
multiple streams, which I was typically the 4K guy, so of course I paid the $20, but that's a lot of money for one app.
Mm-hmm.
And Netflix wanted to get their money. They said, we're going to get it. So all you password sharers out here, like, we're looking at your IP addresses. So, I have a buddy from the Marine Corps who lives in Puerto Rico, so about like 5,000 miles away from where I am currently. So if he logs onto Netflix in Puerto Rico on our shared account, it'll be like, something doesn't make sense. Normally you're watching in Washington State. What are you doing in Puerto Rico? Like, we're shutting this down.
Right.
And inhibiting that, and then prompting the person that's sharing the password, would you like to sign up for a new account? So blocking that function of password sharing. And they told users, like, oh, if you travel for work, you'll just have to, notify us in some way through the app or through the website, and we'll send you a temporary code. A temporary code. Like, mind-numbingly stupid, right? Like, to ask people to do work to access their accounts, so we can ensure you're not like a password sharer. And like I said, ultimately this boils down to them wanting to get the money out of every single person that's been touching these accounts. They want everybody to have their own account that is an adult and, like, works for a living or has some form of income. And it blew up in their face within a week because of the backlash. People are like, this is stupid. I don't want a temporary code. Like, I share this with my family just because my mom doesn't live with me. Like, she doesn't work. She can't afford this on her own. Like, I'm helping my mom out. Like, why are you taking this from me? And Netflix walked it back. They clarified that they're not going to be doing the password sharing crackdown just yet. Is it coming? 100%. Like, I think all the streaming, like, this isn't just going to be a Netflix thing. I'm sure you can agree with me. This seems like an inevitability of where we are in, like, I guess you'd say the economy, where, services aren't improving. These corporations are just, like, so efficient now that they're ready to, like, start cracking down on overuse of their services, ensuring everybody that does use their service is a paying member. So I'm not going to breathe like a sigh of relief.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. Like, I feel like this is coming regardless.
Yeah.
But I am thankful now that Netflix didn't do this because, dude, this is stupid. Like, I travel for work
really
3 hours away. Like, I don't want to, get off work 3 hours away, get back to a hotel, which for any viewers at home that travel for work, they know it's not like how movies, ironically make it out to be. You're eating like a heated like mac and cheese in the microwave while you're by yourself, like browsing, TV channels, kind of a depressing experience. And they don't want you to be able to watch what you want to watch without jumping through hoops so they can verify you're not, like, stealing from them in some sense.
Right.
So, what a stupid decision. I'm glad they walked it back, but as I'm saying, I think it's coming anyway.
Right. I mean, I do have to ask you this. If there is, so, of course, it's inevitably coming in some sort of form. If they package it as, like, how can they even do this? Like, so I think it is going to be, they're going to check your IP and check what's happening. But could you get behind if you have to pay a bit extra? I know, that's the funny thing we talk about Netflix. I feel like it's always a conversation about, like, having to pay, like, just a little bit extra. Like, you always get, like, the email, like, we're raising the prices a little bit. Like, what if you have to pay for an extra service? Like a $3 service or something where it's like you can do password sharing. Does that make it, of course that's still not the ideal, but does that make it a pill that's at least a little easier to swallow?
Well, have you ever heard, like, the story about the frog that's in, like, the boiling water? Like, you turn up the temperature of the water, like, slowly, and the frog doesn't realize that you're boiling it over time. I feel like I'm that frog, and most Netflix subscribers have been that frog, because we've had this conversation for like 10 years now. Like, do you want to pay just a little bit more to have the second screen?
Exactly.
Do you want to pay just a little bit more to be able to download these movies onto your phone, so whenever you're flying and you're using a cheap airline that doesn't have in-flight movies, you can watch a film?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to pay a little bit more for 4K streaming? And that's how we got to the point of going from like a $7.99 service.
Dude, that's so crazy.
8 years ago to paying $20 a freaking month. Like, it quite literally went from with like what I make now, like working literally like 15-20 minutes to be able to afford a Netflix subscription, to having to work a whole hour out of my weekly paycheck almost to pay for Netflix. And I feel like the reason they're getting the backlash is it's getting to that point where you can't do that anymore.
Right.
I really don't feel like it's justifiable. Like, would you ever in your life consider paying $50 a month for a Netflix subscription? Would you? Or any service provider, HBO Max, like the creme de la creme. Would you pay $50 a month for HBO?
Well, here's the thing. It is a question that I'm going to save it for a little bit, so I'm going to divert that question a little bit. But
okay.
Just like I feel bad for Netflix. I'll say this, just because they started with humble beginnings, right? Netflix, like this new thing that you can watch all these movies and TV shows. First they started with DVDs and then went to this whole streaming, but literally they had that world in their hands. Like they were really having this service and it was very useful. And just for I don't have the exact statistics, but when Netflix was really in their prime, piracy went down significantly with all these streaming services and having these things easily accessible. People were like, okay, this is really in this one hub, and I can really just sit there and watch these nice these movies in nice quality. And good for Netflix for doing that. It's a win-win for everybody. But then over time, as they start seeing this Netflix pie that they're getting all this money from, everybody else was like, okay, well, my content's on Netflix. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how their thought process went. My content's on Netflix. I see how much money they're making off of this product. Let's do our own streaming service. So now I get how I perceive what's happening with Netflix is they're getting everything back from what Netflix licensed off of, and then they're putting it on their streaming service. And it's only making the problem even worse because now I had to sign up for 5 different things, or you don't have to, but for what you want, since this thing what you want is on this streaming service, this thing you want is on this one, and that multiplies maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 times for even streaming services. That's only going to make the piracy problem even worse. So I in that sense, I just feel bad for the whole situation. But yeah, Netflix has to tighten their belt a little bit for them as well. And maybe password sharing isn't the best thing to do, but it's also, and tying this back to the AMC thing as well. It's these are, I hate calling them services, but these are things that you could make serviceable. And if you're really being honest with yourself, I could see them doing this, and it sort of makes sense, even though you hate saying having those words come out of your mouth. That these are the good seats. I really do feel terrible saying this, but why don't you pay more for those seats, right? Why don't you pay less? But also, why don't you pay less for those seats that you're having to look at this in the theater like that, because you're so up close? Why should you pay the same price as someone that has really good seats? Think about it like that in a way. Even with streaming services, yeah, password sharing, you can get theoretically a whole bunch of people on that account. And it's yeah, you kind of are skimming out on a little bit of money there. Actually, not even a little bit, probably a lot. Because even Netflix, it was revealed they had a tweet from 2017 that it said they said love is sharing your Netflix password. So even then at least the PR guy that was the culture. That is Netflix culture. But yeah, it's you kind of take a objective look at it. These are things that could be serviceable. So, but going to your question of would you pay $50 for a Netflix subscription? No, I wouldn't pay any subscription for.
What would you drop down lower that? 40, 30, 20? What's ultimately the fair price for, let's say 5 screen shared, 4K streaming, no ads in their content? I feel like we passed it.
Well, how much is it? You said 20? Is that how much we're paying? Okay.
Yeah, that's the top level subscription, is $20.
I hate even saying. Do you know how much HBO Max is?
I don't know, because I've had HBO Max for free for ever.
Oh snap! That's a flex, yo. But I think, I think HBO Max is more expensive than Netflix. I might be wrong.
I think it's about the same, but if I'm going to be completely honest, HBO Max is that premium content. It really is.
Exactly.
Netflix, I don't think it has anything that can compete. They have Pulp Fiction on HBO Max. Things like Forrest Gump, top of the line Oscar-worthy films, and then Netflix has stuff.
I don't. All right. I'll be fair to Netflix. I think they have some banger content. Anime guys. Villain Saga is on right now. Season 2 is hype. Stranger Things, even though that's memed on for being, Netflix's darling, That like Stranger Things is great, man. I cannot wait for how that story concludes when they bring back that final season.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's always these little, and especially I call it the Netflix effect, where like this one project just out of seemingly nowhere makes a huge pop culture explosion. Like let's think like Bird Box.
Bird Box, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Right, and then
Bird Box,
Squid Game,
Wednesday.
Exactly, and it's like there's but like the unfortunate thing is that like you have to pay that month by month by month by month until that one thing does eventually pop off. But like when you're not there for it, you're just like, oh man, like I'm not there for it. So like, I think Netflix, even though like I would consider them like I was gonna call them the underdog, but like there's so many other new streaming services like Paramount Plus, whatever new streaming services that doesn't have that scale of Netflix, but like I feel like Netflix is the underdog in the sense of just how like the cultural eye of things. Like people really do have that like sort of jaded eye towards Netflix now. But yeah,
I feel like the jaded eye towards Netflix is a corporation. Yeah. It's a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Makes a lot of cheddar. Like, they're not hurting. But you brought up a good point about, like, something good that these streaming services, like particularly Netflix, did early on is they did diminish the need for piracy. Like, I'm going to take an L on this and say that I feel for people that can't afford to participate in entertainment that is a part of, popular culture at large.
Right.
And like, I think it sucks to be that kid in school that, didn't go see Avengers in the theater or catch the latest flick when all their friends are talking about it. Like, I feel bad for them. And if like they can't afford it, like I'm kind of willing to like, not judge them so much for piracy, like to stream it online or something like that through a non-streaming service or use like Pirate Bay. But ultimately, if you have the money, I do think you do need to pay in some way to access these things, because that's how studios look at what these artists have created to determine if their products are commercially viable and if they want to ask them to make more. Like think about, like some of your favorite directors, screenwriters, authors, etc. Like if people just stole their stuff, like there's no way for these corporations to believe in them again and give them more funding to make another project that you would absolutely love. So I think people should pay for the Netflix, rent the movie, buy a ticket to the cinema. Like that's the ideal. But you're going to push people back towards piracy if you price them out of the market. Like that's just the truth.
Right.
And I think that's the real losers in this situation aren't the consumers, because I think the consumers will, go to Pirate Bay if they're priced out. I don't think the corporation is going to lose out, because I think they're going to find that sweet spot where they charge just enough that even if they lose subscribers, they're still making more because, they're at that supply demand sweet spot. I think the losers will be the artists, like people not engaging with their content that otherwise would have, because, Netflix went from being $15 to $20. And I think that's just not a winning scenario for the people that we should be the most appreciative when it comes to this stuff, is the artists that make it.
Right. I 100% agree with you too. Like, tying this back to the video, which is up right now by the time you're watching this, the Hogwarts Legacy video. We talked a little bit about Hogwarts Legacy situation. One of the reasons why one of the sort of, I wouldn't call it a counter argument, but an option that you do have for Hogwarts Legacy at some point is that you probably can't pirate the game. And it's like, for me, I don't even want to do that because, like you brought up perfectly, is like I want to pay my dues for the art that's being provided to me. Like I'm a huge believer in that. Like my brother's like a huge piracy guy. Like he'll pirate whatever. Like just day one. And it's like that's just not me, because I love to support what I love, and I really want that to succeed. I want to see more of it. So just tying that in with Hogwarts Legacy, and it's like, yeah, just I really love to support my things. Do you have any other points you want to bring up? Because I do have the question that you kind of brought up, and I kind of skirted across with HBO and like other streaming services and paying that much money for it.
No, I don't have anything else to bring up.
Okay, so I do want to ask just one little leading question. Like, so Netflix maybe on the downfall, maybe not. What is your favorite streaming service right now? Who do you think is the most valuable streaming service right now? That if someone asked you, hey, Caleb, I want a new streaming service to get on, who has the best content? What should I buy?
I would either say HBO Max or Disney Plus. I
Disney
feel
Plus
like
is
Disney
crazy.
Plus is a safe bet just because it has all the. Can you hear that? That train going by?
Yeah.
Feel like I'm in New York City or something. No, I just live next to the train tracks.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say Disney Plus because it has like things like the Avengers, the MCU, has a lot of other Disney IPs that people our age can appreciate, and you can throw that subscription in there and showcase some films and TV shows to your kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a nice like little catch-all. But HBO Max in terms of like original content, the
Man.
movies that they have available is great, and I think that these two providers do a great job ensuring that internet service providers give them the bandwidth that's due so you can enjoy these films in really good quality.
Mm-hmm.
Like watch a film in 4K on Netflix and watch the same film in 4K on like HBO Max if it was possible. The HBO Max looks better. I'm not
Wait,
even
really?
kidding. Like yes,
Oh, wow.
absolutely. And the one that looks by far the best is Disney Plus. Like stream Avengers Endgame on Disney Plus. Like do the IMAX enhanced version on your 4K enabled TV, HDR enabled, and it's amazing. It looks almost as good as the disc. Granted, you never get as good as the disc, but like it gets pretty close.
Yeah.
And I think that that's an impressive thing. So that's why I would choose those two personally. But I'm curious, what would you recommend? Like if I was like, hey man, I need a new streaming service. Like what are you gonna recommend to me?
You know what? Like, first of all, I was actually surprised at first you saying Disney Plus because I think Disney Plus is like, I'll just say it's not for me, especially for someone that's kind of getting out of the whole Marvel sort of sphere of things. I just don't see myself having a place in Disney Plus. But then I realized, and I might be wrong, I think Disney has like a sweet little like part in Hulu as well. Do they have like, yeah, and it's like, if I want
Disney on Hulu.
Oh wow! So if I want to like kind of cheat and be like, okay, Disney Plus and Hulu, but like I mean, of course, they're different services. But like, if we're just saying like Disney as like what they own, like man, like that little combination Disney Hulu, especially because like if you like anime, then Hulu has like really like they have day-to-day anime on Hulu, and it's like that's really sick. So I might actually just change my answer to Hulu. So like Hulu, definitely HBO Max. Like I'm consistently surprised. Especially if like they're the same price of Netflix and HBO, if they float around that same price, like the value you get at HBO Max is crazy. Like every once in a while, like maybe every month, I just scroll through like the just added part, and I'm genuinely shocked with how many bangers they add to that. Like
yeah, like they throw out the money to get
literally
like the best IPs.
And then like not even just the movies, it's like the shows are incredible as well. Like especially like the one shot like shows that like they don't even do anymore. Like I forgot what the show was, but like it was just like a quick like little one season thing that just never got renewed, and it was incredible. Like HBO Max has like gems on gems. Like it's just such a good product. So that'll be like my number one, and then my sleeper kind of like really good streaming services. I would say Amazon Prime, but that's like really expensive.
Yeah. But I feel like you have Amazon Prime not just for like the video service, but because of you want your packages faster.
Literally.
The other day.
And it's like unfortunate too because like there's not much I can recommend off Amazon Prime Video, to be honest. Like we all know how Rings of Power went. That wasn't the best. Yeah. Oh my god. But
that was a disappointment on another level.
And like, dude, how much money went into that? But like, that's also a benefit for Amazon Prime. Like, you're getting that Amazon money into your shows, right? And it's like the big product that come out of Amazon Prime was I know you haven't watched it, which I really wanted you to watch it. Invincible. Like that show is incredible. Like that show came out of like the pop culture like void and just went on everybody's TV screen. Like that, it did something that was, which nowadays is so rare. It did something genuinely unexpected. So like, yeah, Invincible was sick. Initially, Vinland Saga was an Amazon Prime exclusive, and like because Amazon Prime is so gatekept behind that big sort of bill you get at the end of the month. Yeah, Vinland Saga was incredible, but yeah, like it has so much content on there that just like 100%. But if I had to choose one, guys, like if you guys don't have HBO Max, jeez, like it's so premium. I love HBO Max. I would definitely cancel. Like, if it came down to it, I need to cancel my other subscriptions too. I'm getting rid of everything and I'm keeping HBO Max. Like, it is so great.
Yep, you really can't go wrong. And I think ultimately, like, people fall into having all these like streaming services just so they can doom scroll. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
HBO Max, like, it's not, the most endless list. Like, you can realistically scroll through every movie and TV show on that streaming service within like 15, 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But there are so many high quality options that the chance you even get to the end of the list before you're like, you know what? Like, instead of scrolling, I'm going to sit down for like 2 hours and watch a film. Like, of course, I'm going to watch Kill Bill Volume 1
Exactly.
or Pulp Fiction or some like Forrest Gump. Like I said, I'm pretty sure they have Shawshank Redemption too, like peak golden era films.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Netflix just doesn't really have that
At all.
Mm-mm. I do want to tell you this though. You can get Disney Plus with Hulu with ESPN Plus as one subscription service, and I'm pretty sure it's the exact same price as the premium Netflix subscription.
Wow. Yeah. No, actually, the thing is, like, we had that bundle, but like for New Year's they were doing a like a super like discounted price for just a Hulu subscription. Because like I realized, like, hey, like I'm not watching Marvel anymore. I'm kind of just like over that. I didn't really use much of ESPN besides like MMA. And then it's like Hulu is the thing we did, so like we just cancel all that and we just did Hulu. So, and speaking of Marvel guys, stay tuned for we have a video coming up where we're talking about the DCU news and like the future of that. So stay tuned for that. Tell me what you guys think of the new AMC changes with theaters and seating, and tell me what you guys think of the new password sharing. Thank you guys so much for coming. Catch you next episode.